Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're diving into a fascinating part of Matthew's genealogy. Now, I know what you might be thinking. A list of names? Kinda dry, right? But trust me, if you look closer, this isn't just a list. It's a drama-filled story of a royal family, packed with heroes, villains, and some pretty shocking twists.
So, that leads us to the big question we're tackling today. We're about to walk through a family line that honestly seems like it's trying to destroy itself from the inside out, and yet somehow this chain never breaks. How on earth is that possible? Well, let's get into it. All right, so our story kicks off at the absolute peak. We're starting with the most legendary king in Israel's history, the guy who pretty much sets the gold standard for everyone who comes after him, King David. And here it is, the official start of the royal line in Matthew's telling. David isn't just a king, he's the king. He's the one who gets this incredible divine promise that a future Messiah will come directly from his family. And that promise, that's the thread that's going to hold this whole chaotic story together.
And what a reign it was. We're talking 40 years on the throne. He brings the two kingdoms of Israel and Judah together. The man was a warrior, a poet, a musician. His legacy is just monumental. But even right here, at this high point, the genealogy gives us a little hint of the drama that's coming.
Whoa, did you catch that? Matthew is very intentional here. He doesn't just say David had a son, Solomon. He specifically points out that Solomon's mother was the one who had been the wife of Urias. That is a direct, not so subtle nod to the biggest scandal of David's life, reminding us that even this golden legacy has its share of messy human moments. So David's son Solomon, he takes the kingdom to even crazier heights. He's blessed with this legendary wisdom and unimaginable wealth. And his crowning achievement? Building the magnificent temple in Jerusalem. This is it. This is the apex of the kingdom. It's powerful, it's rich, it's unified. But it's not going to last. You know what they say, what goes up must come down. And from this incredible peak, the actions of just one man, Solomon's own son, are about to tear this golden kingdom apart. So meet Rehoboam, or Rehoboam, as Matthew calls him. He inherits the whole shebang from his dad, the money, the power, the United Kingdom. And he's about to make one of the single worst political decisions in history. So the people come to him with a pretty simple request. Hey, your dad worked us pretty hard and taxed us a lot. Could you maybe ease up? The wise old elders tell him, listen to them, serve the people. But his young buddies? They tell him to flex, to be even tougher than his dad was. Rehoboam picks pride over wisdom, and boom, the result is instant rebellion. The northern tribes walk, and the kingdom is violently split right down the middle. And the roller coaster just keeps on going. After Rehoboam's disaster of a reign, you get his son, Abiah, and then his son, Asa. And right here, we see the pattern that's going to define this whole lineage, this wild, dizzying swing between good and evil. I mean, just look at the whiplash here. Abiah continues right in his dad's footsteps, all sin all the time. But his son, Asa, does a complete 180. He spends his long reign just cleaning house, tearing down all the idols his dad and grandpa allowed. The royal line is just lurching from one moral extreme to the other. Okay, so if you thought it was messy before, buckle up. This next phase of the family tree takes us into some really dark places, where terrible decisions lead to some absolutely devastating consequences. After the righteous King Asa, we get another good one, Jehoshaphat. He's known for teaching God's law. But, you guessed it, the pendulum swings right back, and hard. Jehoshaphat's son, Joram, is an absolute train wreck. Joram hits a new low. He marries into the most wicked royal family around, Ahab and Jezebel, imports their idol worship, and then murders all of his own brothers just to make sure no one can challenge him. His life ends with a gruesome, painful disease. It is really hard to imagine the family sinking any lower than this. Okay, now here is where Matthew does something really clever. If you go back and check the history books, you'll see he actually skips 3 kings right after the horrible Joram. This isn't a mistake, you guys. It's a deliberate choice. Matthew is shaping this list to make a point, maybe to show just how far the poison of Joram's evil spread down his family line. So Matthew just fast forwards through 3 generations, jumping from the disastrous Joram all the way to his great-great-grandson, Uzziah, who he calls Ozias.
And for a while, it seems like things are finally back on track. Uzziah has this remarkably long and stable reign, 52 years. He brings strength back to the kingdom, and he starts off so well, really trying to do what's right.
But, and there's always a but in this story, isn't there? After decades of success, pride just consumes him. He marches right into the temple and tries to do a job that was reserved only for the priests. And for crossing that sacred line, he's struck with leprosy, right there on the spot. He ends up spending the rest of his life as an outcast, a powerful king living in total isolation. So just when you think you've seen the bottom, well, you haven't. We're about to enter what is maybe the most spiritually bankrupt period in the kingdom's history, and it's all thanks to one unbelievably wicked king. After Uzziah, his son Jotham has a decent reign, but the pattern holds. The next king in line, Ahaz, is about to plunge the entire nation into a darkness deeper than anything they've seen before. I mean, just look at this list. This goes way beyond bad politics. This is a complete and total spiritual betrayal. He sacrifices his own child. He literally shuts the doors to God's temple. And he fills the holy city with altars to foreign gods. He flat out rejects God and puts all his trust in foreign armies. This is the absolute bottom of the barrel. But the story doesn't end in darkness, because out of the absolute worst king comes one of the absolute best. The contrast we're about to see is just breathtaking. And here he is. The son of the wicked Ahaz is Hezekiah, or Ezekias. He turns out to be one of the greatest reformers in the nation's history, a king who basically dedicates his entire life to undoing every single wicked thing his father ever did. Hezekiah's first move? He throws open the temple doors that his father had boarded up. He goes on a rampage, smashing idols, and he brings back the national festivals. He leads this massive spiritual revival across the entire country. It is a complete and total reversal of his father's toxic legacy. But his faith was about to face the ultimate test. The Assyrian Empire, the global superpower of the day, shows up and surrounds Jerusalem. By all human logic, the city is doomed. Hezekiah is facing down an army of 185,000 enemy soldiers. But instead of surrendering, Hezekiah prayed. He put his trust in God when his father had put his trust in foreign armies. And the result was one of the most stunning miracles you'll ever read about. The entire Assyrian army was wiped out overnight, and the people of Jerusalem never had to draw a single sword. But wait, there was one more crisis. Hezekiah gets deathly sick, and he doesn't have a son. The royal line of David is about to go extinct. So again, he prays, and God miraculously gives him 15 more years of life. And in that time, he has a son named Manasseh. Now, in a final, unbelievable twist that basically sums up this entire genealogy, Manasseh grows up to be one of the most wicked kings in Judah's history. It just proves, once again, that this line survives not because of how good the kings are, but in spite of them. So, what have we seen? We've seen good kings, evil kings, incredible wisdom and spectacular foolishness, deep faith and outright betrayal. This royal line was almost destroyed by pride, murder, idolatry, and foreign invasion, and yet it survived every single time. Which brings us back to our final question. If this chain is so full of flawed, broken links, but it remains completely unbreakable, what does that tell you about the power and faithfulness of the one who made the promise in the first place?